Iceland has announced a diplomatic boycott of the 2018 World Cup in Russia. The announcement comes in response to the alleged poisoning of Skripal by Russia. The United Kingdom has already said the royal family will boycott this summer's World Cup. For more on this tonight, we are joined by U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. Jim, nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Ed.
Your reaction to the expulsions, what do they mean, if anything?
Well, look, Ed, I think we need to take a step back here. We hear all this tit for tat, what happened in Salisbury, well, how will the Russians respond? I think we have to look at the bigger picture here. We keep asking ourselves, are we in a new Cold War? How much worse will things get? When will they get better? I think we have to understand this is a coordinated global anti-Russian strategy. The ambassador said this is getting rid of the last vestiges of some kind of dialogue between the United States and Russia. That's what it's designed to do. That's what the entire Russian collusion story was designed to do, the entire FISA-Gate story. And let's remember, the British and MI6 were intimately involved in all of that. And I think this is endgame in a sense, that any talk from Trump, we're going to improve relations with Russia, that's out the window. He might as well not be president as far as that goes.
Given that, what do you think the Russian reaction is going to be as this chain reaction seems to continue?
I think what they'll do what they usually do, which is they try to respond in a somewhat symmetrical and reasonable way, but then try to preserve the essence of the relationship and say we still want to work with our Western partners. And at some point, they have to wake up and smell the coffee and realize they have no Western partners. This is a coordinated political warfare against Russia. It's global in scope, and that somehow trying to salvage the relationship is not doing them any good.
The United States is in somewhat of a political corner here. At least that's how I see it, is that the United States is not taking the lead on this. They're following. They're following UK. They're following the European countries. And yet the United States has not been pushed by the mainstream media. Do you care about evidence? What's the evidence? Just taking the word of the Brits. What do you make of that?
Well, since when do we need evidence for anything? When do we need evidence on using military force against Syria after an accusation of chemical weapons use, which has still not been substantiated and won't be substantiation? Evidence has nothing to do with it. It's not a question of the United States taking lead. It has to do with the elements of the deep state, which are virtually seamless with their British counterparts. They're in the driver's seat. It has nothing to do with America versus Britain versus Europe. It has to do with the permanent bureaucracy in these countries, the NATO bureaucracy. They know what they want to do with respect to Russia. This is political warfare. It has nothing to do with Trump. It may not even have much to do with Theresa May, except salvaging her moribund political career.
The Democrats have always been the peacemakers. Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats are the hawks. They're going so far as to say the president's not doing enough, even though he's expelled more diplomats than any other country. And now there's a suggestion that they would target Putin's finances and his oligarch friends. What do you make of that? How would they do that, and how effective could that be? Is that a real threat?
I think it's a real threat. I don't know how effective it will be. Again, let's keep in mind, what is the real goal here is regime change. Discredit Mr. Putin's re-election, discredit the World Cup, organize a boycott for that, to treat Russia as we've treated so many other countries like Libya and Syria and Serbia and Iraq and so forth, even though Russia is a much greater scale than those countries. That's why I say, Ed, this is extremely dangerous. This is not just business as usual. This is the kind of thing that starts to have a whiff of 1914 about it if people make a mistake somewhere.
Jim Jatras, always a pleasure. Great to have you with us, Jim. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.